Mm-hmm.
Cousin Leon has often said, because he's read a book, that beliefs come first, reasons come second. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during this time in my life where I met the woman I married. And for those of you who don't know, my wife is black. And when my dad first saw my girlfriend at the time, I could tell he wasn't pleased. But he thought that it would soon end. I had many girlfriends before then. I was a bit of a player, and but I kept my virginity until I got married. Um, I was a good Christian, as my dad would say. But it was Thanksgiving, 1991, and I called my dad up, and I said, we lived in different cities. I said, I'm coming over for Thanksgiving dinner. I'll be there in a few hours. He said, great.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, and by the way, is it okay if I bring my girlfriend? And he said, no. And I said, why not? I said, well, I just don't want her to come. I said, Dad, we've been dating for like a couple of years now. I really want to bring her. And so I started an argument with my dad about this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Doug, if you bring her to Thanksgiving dinner, you're no longer my son.
What?
Yeah. And
Jeez.
I broke down. I hung up the phone and I broke down bawling. I'm just crying like crazy.
Mm.
And I lived with an old lady at the time. I was renting a room. Her name was Mildred, white hair, cantankerous old lady. But she liked me, but she always gave me a hard time, like teasing and so forth. She was always teasing me about something. But then she came in the room after I hung up with my dad and saw me just weeping there, and she changed. Like that
Mm-hmm.
impacted her as well, and she showed me compassion and love, and kind of consoled me at the time. And so I just didn't know what to do at that time. But what happened was, after a couple hours went by, my mom, my this is my guess, my mom basically really came down on my dad and said, "Look, you're willing to lose your son over this? Like, call him back and say it's okay to come." So he did, but it was the most awkward Thanksgiving I can ever remember. And fast forward a couple years later, well, maybe 1 year later, I proposed. And my dad said, this is where I learned afterwards, that he went from church to church to church. It was at least three or four churches that he went to try to get a pastor to agree with him that what I was doing was wrong, that I should not marry this woman. And strangely enough, she came from a church very similar to ours. So it wasn't an unequally yoked situation spiritually and not even
Mm-hmm.
culturally. Her culture was very similar to mine as well.
Mm.
And, but the reason why I tell this story is, number one, it impacted my life greatly. But number two, it solidifies this whole idea of beliefs come first, reasons come second. My dad had this belief that this is wrong, but he
Mm-hmm.
had no reason to think so. So he went looking for reasons to confirm what he already
Yeah.
believed. And I think that story is a perfect picture of a lot of our beliefs. We have this almost like a knee jerk response to what we believe,
Mm.
and then we look we look for reasons to justify it.
Yeah.
We look for reasons to say, yes, I do have good reasons to
Mm.
believe this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm aware of that, and I still do it. Like if I'm reading through an article and I already have a belief, I notice that I'll look for the things that confirm my my view on it already. Yeah, it's a hard thing to
Yeah.
shake.